Hello, users, and welcome to another episodic installation of the Above It All program, your favorite program, your least favorite program, whatever it is. Welcome to another show. Today I'm going to be talking about things. And they may have relation to the news. They may have relation to politics. They may have relation to how you're doing and living your life and so on and so forth. Are you alive right now? Because if so, you probably won't be for long because Israel is trying to get us into World War VII. That's right. We're skipping all the way to 7. We don't need 3, 4, 5, 6, or 6.5. We're just skipping right to 7. Over the weekend, last weekend, I believe it was last weekend, assuming I understand the flow of time correctly, the country of Iran did a retaliatory strike against Israel. The mainstream media is talking about, well, Iran, we got to kill everyone in Iran. We got to go to war. And it's pretty scary. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's pretty nuts. It's pretty out there as far as things go. And we're gonna be getting into some of the aftermath of that today, a little bit. I've got some interesting, I got an interesting headline for that. We're gonna be talking about the Supreme Court today. They've done some interesting stuff over the last few days. Touch on that a little bit. We're going to be talking about how the breakdown of society is already underway, and it's mostly because of corporations and stupid people who let corporations do really heinous things. I'm doing a show today. Hopefully everyone enjoys today's program. I have a lot of people tell me that they enjoy the program. But they don't often tell me what it is that they enjoy about it. It's like, oh, but then, you know what I'm saying? So, if you enjoy the program, feel free to let me know why that is the case. Gotta motivate me to continue doing this. So let's start off the show here by talking about fucking plastic. So check this out. Critics call out plastic industry over fraud of plastic recycling. So for those that are uninitiated, this is something I've talked about before, but if you don't remember or new here or whatever, how much plastic percentage-wise that is produced do you actually think it's recycled? Because if you look at plastic, you see, please recycle and all this stuff. But how much do you think it's recycled? Like 50%? Less, more, just, throw that out there. But let's read this here. Jan Dell is a former chemical engineer who has spent years telling an inconvenient truth about plastic. So many people, they see the recyclable label and they put it in the recycle bin, she said, but the vast majority of plastics are not recycled. About 48 million tons of plastic waste is generated in the U.S. each year. Only 5 to 6% of it is actually recycled, according to the Department of Energy. The rest ends up in landfills or is burned. I'm sure burning plastic is, that's definitely good for the environment. 5 to 6% of plastic is recycled. Now, this is why I highly recommend to, at all costs, I know plastic is fucking everywhere. We wrap our food in plastic. We put plastic in the food. We make food out of plastic. We make water out of plastic. We put water into plastic. We do all this kind of garbage with plastic. And one of the main reasons people switched societally from glass to plastic is, it's more convenient. You can have different shapes and sizes. And also, it's just as recyclable, they told you. Turns out that's not the case. Anything and everywhere in your life, if you can avoid food packaging that has plastic, you ever go to the grocery store and you're looking for some produce, you want to get some fresh broccoli, maybe some cucumbers. What do they have at the grocery store? That's right, little plastic bags for you to wrap your food in plastic and get microplastics all over that shit. Right, so again, I highly urge people to wherever possible, switch from plastic to glass. If you drink plastic water bottles, consider not doing that, getting a water filter and storing your water in glass or metal or something like that. Now, again, glass and metal, when it comes to storage, you have to make sure that, you're cleaning it properly and doing all that kind of stuff if you're reusing it. But again, this plastic phenomena has to go. It's bad for you. Above all else, it's horrible for you. The plastic gets inside of your body. We all have microplastics everywhere inside of our bloodstream and so on and so forth. Don't even get me started on nanoplastics. Holy Christ. But let's keep going. Dell founded a nonprofit. I don't really care about that. She said, "You're being lied to." Those so-called chasing arrows started showing up on plastic products in 1988. Part of a push to convince the public that plastic waste wasn't a problem because it can be recycled. Davis Allen, an investigative researcher with the Center for Climate Integrity, said the industry didn't need for recycling to work. They needed people to believe that it was working. A new report called The Fraud of Plastic Recycling accuses the plastics industry of a decades-long campaign to mislead the public about the viability of plastic recycling, despite knowing the technical and economic limitations that make plastics unrecyclable at a large scale. They couldn't ever lie about the existence of plastic waste, said Allen, but they created a lie about how we could solve it, and that was recycling. Tracy asked, if plastic recycling is technically difficult, if it doesn't make a whole lot of economic sense, why has the plastics industry pushed it? Now, first of all, I love the idea that it's like, oh, it's economic sense. Like, we run our entire fucking civilization on some made-up bull fucking shit. The economy. Woo! If it makes economic sense to pollute the world and destroy the planet, guess what? I want nothing to do with the economy. I don't want anything to do with that fucking system. It fucking sucks. The idea that it's like, oh, it's economically safe to dump chemicals in the river and destroy ecosystems and give people cancer. That's economically safe. I don't know, man. We fucked up. Somewhere along the way, somewhere maybe around 2,000, 3,000, maybe in some areas 4,000 years ago, humanity went off the motherfucking deep end. If you look at a lot of ancient civilizations, not all of them are perfect, but a lot of ancient civilizations had some really fucking good ideas. Before kings and pharaohs and queens and rulers and divine beings took over the fucking goddamn superstitious nature of humanity, we were living together. We were having fun together. We were building communistic civilizations. Some of the oldest documented civilizations on the planet don't have royal palaces, but they do have a bunch of different houses that are all just so happens to be the same size, have the same levels of furnishing, and so on and so forth. So I find that to be interesting. Somewhere along the way, we decided some humans are better than other humans, and then a couple of thousands, tens of thousands of years later, we invented capitalism. That's right, where a couple billionaires convince you all that plastic is good. Plastic. I don't know, man. To me, I'm not a fan of plastic. Plastic has its use cases, right? But when it comes to food and water especially, which is a lot of the generation of plastic, and again, a lot of it is also from the fashion industry as well. But when it comes to food and water, why are we draping our food in motherfucking plastic? Stupid fucking country and world full of stupid fucking people that are like, well, plastic, gimme, and they won't do jack fuck all about it. Where's the revolution over poisoning our kids' bloodstream with nanoplastics? Is anyone gonna revolt because of that? Of course not, because plastic makes it so you can easily get your Doritos at a reduced cost. And again, a lot of people don't like when I shift this over to individual people. I think personally, I don't know, man. I have faith in humans. Maybe you don't. But I have faith that humans can go like, oh shit, plastic is bad for you. Well, let me do everything I possibly can to eliminate or reduce plastic in my life. Now, again, in this world, is it even possible to have a 100% no plastic lifestyle? Not gonna lie, I don't think so. But again, when it comes to food and water, things like that, you want to reduce the plastic as much as possible because that has a direct impact on your health. And again, also it's a scam. Plastic in general is a scam. But again, when it comes to our health, we are literally killing ourselves for capitalists. And no one gives a fuck. And it's all built on bullshit. The plastics industry understands that selling recycling sells plastic, and they'll say pretty much whatever they need to continue doing that. Allen replied, that's how they make money. Plastic is made from oil and gas and comes in thousands of varieties, most of which cannot be recycled together. But in the 1980s, when some municipalities moved to ban plastic products, the industry began promoting the idea of recycling as a solution. Allen showed us documents and meeting notes they obtained from public archives and from a former staff member of the American Plastics Council. What we see here is widespread knowledge that plastics recycling was not working. At a trade conference in Florida in 1989, an industry leaders told attendees recycling cannot go on indefinitely and does not solve the solid waste problem. In 94, an Exxon executive told the staff of the Plastics Council that when it comes to recycling, quote, we are committed to the activities, but not committed to the results. Again, it's bullshit. The same bullshit that told you that salt's gonna kill you, the same bullshit that told you that fat is a killer, not carbohydrates, not sugar, but fat. You remember this craze in the 90s and early aughts? Low fat. You still see this shit at the store. Low fat version, low sodium version. Bullshit. The low sodium version it's not any fucking healthier. The low fat version, not any fucking healthier. Just has as much sugar in it. They make it look like it's healthier, and you're dumb enough to buy it. Again, all of these corporations and every industry have built the modern society that we live in on lies, on bald and bold. I don't know which one it is. Maybe you're a bold baldy, right? Faced motherfucking goddamn lies. And again, even when you tell people, they go, I don't really care. Right? You ever think about this? Like, you ever eat like a food product and like, you know, it has like that tear off plastic where there's like the little extended thing on the corner and you tear it off and then you see like the glue particles. You know, you ever see like the glue on the edges like stretch and then break apart? Where is that glue going? Oh, it's going inside of your food and then you're eating it. And then you got glue and plastic inside of your body. How cool is that, man? But hopefully you're unpacking a low-fat, low-sodium alternative. Definitely not a low-sugar alternative. We can't have any of those. But low-fat, low-sodium, that's the good stuff right there. But again, you can read more of this. It's just like kind of an interview of people that are like, you know, fuck this whole plastic thing. But again, the whole society that we live in is built on bullshit. The things that people believe, like, oh, the United States has a big debt and it's a huge problem. Bull fucking shit. Oh, plastic. It should be in everything. We make clothes out of plastic. Every time you wash your plastic ass clothes, guess how many microplastics are getting jammed in the fucking goddamn sewer system? A fuckload, right? We have all forms of life on planet Earth, including plants that are growing in the world, having plastic inside of them, and it was all because of bullshit. They told you, oh, don't worry, man, it's you know, it seems like a problem, but at the same time, it's really recyclable, y'all, and now we have a bunch of plastic everywhere. Look at high fructose corn syrup. Oh, it's going to solve the food crisis. And now everyone's got diabetes and obesity, right? So again, the entire modern society is built upon bullshit. And I don't know, man. It's kind of sad to live in that world to me. But, you know, it's the only world we got. So, all right, check this out. You're living your life. You're inside your house. Maybe you're with your family, right? There's a knock at the door. The dog starts barking. Woof, 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 woof. Right? It's maybe late at night. 9:30, 9:40. Who's at the door? It's so late. You go to the door. You look out the peephole. No one's there. Whoa. That's weird. What is this? Paranormal Activity 7? So everyone just says, okay, whatever. Then, that's me making a fucking glass shattering. A window's broken. It's a home invasion. But you're a liberal. You love Joe Biden. You don't have guns in your home, right? So this home invader comes in, takes one of your family members hostage, brings them upstairs, ties them up, says, we're gonna fucking kill these motherfuckers, or motherfucker, depends on how many they take hostage. We're gonna shoot them in the head unless you give us everything you got, right? But don't worry, little Timmy is crawling away underneath the coffee table in the living room, and somehow they have a cell phone. They call 911, and then major 911 outages in 4 states leave millions without a way to contact local authorities. Now, okay, I'm not a fan of 911, right? I'm not a fan of police. I'm not a fan of the whole system. Now, I should say that 911 also is firefighters, ambulances, right? Hospital stuff, medical issues. That's another issue. But when it comes to cops, not a huge fan. I don't know. Have you ever called 911? I've called 911 before, and the operators, they're not very helpful. At least in my experience, they weren't very helpful. And it took them a long time, to fucking actually get me to the point where it's like, I can tell someone the actual problem here. But hey, whatever. 911 outages in 4 states. Isn't that weird? 4 states? Like, it would be one thing if, it went out in like a city, one, 911, dispatch, location or whatever, or like maybe 4 different states. Interesting. So let's read this here. Get rid of you fucking pop-ups. God damn it. They put that X at the bottom right just to fuck with you. Law enforcement agencies across 4 states were left scrambling following reports of major 911 outages that saw millions unable to contact authorities late Wednesday. Many of the outages reported in Nebraska, Nevada, South Dakota, and Texas were restored by late evening. Nebraska, Nevada, South Dakota, and Texas? These states are not in the same, South Dakota, Texas, Nevada, Nebraska. I mean, you can maybe make an argument that they're kind of, but where's Oklahoma? Where's North Dakota? Where's Utah? How come they were fine? Right? Isn't that weird that these 4 states that aren't really connected in any real way or have any regional similarities have 911 outages? That's a little weird. I don't know, man. I'm a little concerned. So far, there's no indication that outages were caused by a cyber attack or other malicious act, law enforcement officials told NBC News. Even if there was a cyber attack, they wouldn't tell you. They wouldn't fucking tell you. But I'm not here claiming it is. But I'm just saying, them saying that's not a cyber attack isn't really any information. While the Federal Communications Commission continues to investigate, the outages appear to be related to Lumen Technologies. What are Lumen Technologies? That sounds like a private corporation. A spokesperson for the communications and telecom company said, on April 17, some customers in... Customers? What? Customers? Your mom had a stroke. And you're calling up 911, you're a customer now? What the fuck? Nevada, South Dakota, and Nebraska experienced an outage due to a third-party company installing a light pole unrelated to our services. So wait, let me get this straight. One company controls 911's dispatch system. Shouldn't that be in publicly owned or something? Hey, whatever. And another company installs a light pole. Now, all of a sudden, your dad is dead from a heart attack because 911 wouldn't go through and your car's out of gas. What? What? We restored all services in approximately 2.5 hours. Mark Molson said, Lumen doesn't provide 911 services in Texas, he added. So isn't that interesting? Why Texas? But also, why is the public emergency system outsourced to private fucking corporations. Isn't that fucking weird? Isn't that fucking strange? That when your house is burning down, you have to rely on a private company's system to function? Isn't that fucking weird? Where did that happen? How did that fucking come to fruition here? Our techs identified the issue and worked hard to fix it as quickly as possible. Molson said, "We apologize for the inconvenience and appreciate our customers' patience and understanding." If someone invaded your house and they're threatening to kill fucking little Timmy or whatever, little Timmy has the phone, so they're threatening to kill Sally, or whatever, and you're calling 911 and no image, like, I know the cops aren't gonna really do anything anyway, but we're trying to do an action movie here, give me a break. Or your house is on fire, or your fucking uncle had a heart attack or something, and then you call 911, then boom, no one answers, your uncle's fucking dead, Sally got her head chopped off, little Timmy's next, right? And then this fucking, you see on the news the next day, "We apologize for the inconvenience and appreciate our customers' patience and understanding." I'm sorry, man. What? What? One, customers? Are you fucking kidding me? And also, where's the patience and understanding? My uncle's dead. My goddamn husband's dead. My wife is dead. My little fucking kids are dead. Where's the patience and understanding? Like, I'm sorry. When someone is calling 911, that is like a worst case scenario. The idea that anyone would call 911, no one picking up the phone, and then later on they would be like, "Oh, I'm very patient and understanding about the situation." Bogus. What the fucking fuck? I'm sorry, man. What? Wednesday's outage comes on the heels of a widespread AT&T outage in February that left thousands without service across multiple states and impacted some calls to 911 for hours, which the carrier said was likely caused by a process error, not a cyber attack. Now, again, isn't it fucking interesting that a public emergency system is basically reliant on these third-party privatized corporations, and they can just fuck around anytime they want and then blame it on some other corporation? Oh yeah, someone was installing a light pole somewhere, and then 3 states couldn't call 911? Like, again, I want to reread this. On April 17, some customers in Nevada, South Dakota, and Nebraska experienced an outage due to a third-party company installing a light pole. What? A light pole took out 911 services across 3 states? Let me guess, the light pole was installed in motherfucking Montana, right? Because that would make sense. How the fuck does someone installing a light pole, presumably in one location, affect 3 fucking states that are nowhere motherfucking near each other? What the fuck? Oh my goddamn god. Jesus fuck. Local law enforcement on Wednesday reported a full statewide outage in South Dakota shortly before 7 p.m. Rapid City Police offered locals alternative phone numbers to call for first responders, and service was restored about 2 hours later. The entire state of South Dakota could not call 911 for about 2 hours or so? Because someone installed a light pole in Nebraska? I'm sorry, man. What? What? Fuck. Jesus. My God. During the duration of the outage, Metro Communications received 112 calls for service that were able to come through via open line numbers and by texting 911. You said? Gramlich added, for reference, typically during the same time period for the day and the week. Metro Communications takes 114 calls. To our knowledge, we have never experienced an outage of this magnitude or duration. The city also issued a wireless emergency alert to notify the public about the 911 system outage. Now imagine you're like a fucking criminal mastermind. You're up to no good, right? You're like the fucking, you're a classic gangster, like a greasy ass, fucking you're going through and you're going through shootouts or whatever the fuck gangsters do nowadays. I don't know. You get a fucking alert on your phone. Oh, 911's down. I'm just saying. I don't know, man. In Nevada, Las Vegas, Metropolitan Police said around 7 p.m. local time that there is a 911 outage impacting your ability to contact us right now. Locals were urged to dial 911 on mobile devices, which dispatch was able to see and call back, and said calls from landlines are not working at the moment because of a light pole. Someone installed a light pole. In Douglas County, Nebraska, officials said that the cause of the outage had to do with a fiber cut. So we have a fiber cut and a light pole, and 3 states cannot contact 911. Lumen Technologies told Douglas County 911 on the cause that there was a fiber cut, but they did not disclose the location of the damage. Now, I don't know about you, but shouldn't we have, like, redundancies? Shouldn't we have, like, a backup system? If one fucking wire gets cut, how the fuck is that going to be responsible for all of 911 in 3 different states going down or some shit? Are you giving me is this a joke? What the fuck? This is the public emergency infrastructure for the country. It's outsourced to privatized corporations that have no redundancies or backups in place. Isn't that a little alarming to you? Shouldn't we, I don't know, do something about this? But hey, whatever. Fuck. It was a light pole. Sarpy County 911 in Nebraska shared on Twitter on Wednesday night that some wireless carriers were not able to reach 911. The matter was resolved about 3 hours later. Del Rio police in Texas wrote on social media Wednesday evening the issue was with the carrier and not the city of Del Rio systems. The issue appeared to be with T-Mobile services. Juan Hernandez, the department's communications supervisor, said Thursday morning. Anybody who was a T-Mobile customer was having problems using their phones. I'm sorry, man. Phones at this point, cell phones at this point in our civilization, they need to be operational 24/7. Any outages are unacceptable. And I'm not saying that because I need to scroll and look and refresh my Twitter feed over and over again. I'm saying that because, again, public emergency infrastructure, okay? If someone you know is having a stroke or a heart attack and there's no way for you to drive to a hospital, you don't have a car, or let's say there are no cars around, or your car's battery is dead, whatever the reason is, you need to be able to call an ambulance. I'm sorry, that needs to happen at any fucking point. The idea that these outages could happen at all is insane to me. There's no backup system. Oh, that thing goes down and then our 17 backup systems rev up. That's how it should work. But not in Fuckville, of which we currently live, unfortunately. So, isn't that a little fucking interesting? I don't know, man. A fucking light pole took out, apparently, according to Lumen Technologies, a light pole cut a fiber wire somewhere, and then 3 states couldn't call 911. What on fucking God's green earth? What? Oh my fuck. Alright, let's talk about this. Now this is fun. For me, Why is this fun? Because I'm a jaded fuck who just wants to watch the world blow up. Iran's Raisi reiterates warnings as Israel mulls response to air attack. So I mentioned this earlier, but Israel basically bombed a couple of Iranian generals, and then Iran launched some missiles. Well, this is the other thing about it is Iran said, hey, by the way, we're going to launch some missiles. And then they said, all right, by the way, we launched the missiles. It'll take like 8 hours to get to you. Like a couple drones or whatever, or missiles, a couple hit actual, they went through the Iron Dome, or like the Iron Dome shot them down and shrapnel was falling inside of Israeli cities and stuff. But overall, it wasn't an attack designed to hurt people. It was specifically targeting military institutions because, again, Israel just murdered 2 Iranian generals for no fucking reason. And Joe Biden basically said, yeah, we don't want to do an offensive attack against Iran, right? But now what does that mean, an offensive attack against Iran, right? Because Israel can just say, oh, we have a right to defend ourselves. This is a defensive attack on Iran. And then Joe Biden's like, okay, sure, right? And Netanyahu's like, oh, we're going to respond. We're going to attack Iran. And then the Iranian government, the president, now again, there's multiple different leaders in Iran. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm an expert on the Iranian government hierarchy here. But the president of Iran basically said, if you do that shit again, yeah, not going to be good for the government of Israel. So let's check this out. Quote, the tiniest attack by Israel would bring a massive and harsh response, Iran's president has reiterated as concern over the threat of full-scale war in the Middle East persists. President Ibrahim Raisi's warning came on Wednesday as he spoke at Iran's annual army parade. The world is braced for potential retaliation to Iran's attack on Israel, which took place over the weekend. Of course, Israel started this, so that needs to be understood as well. Israel has pledged to respond, despite calls for it to hold back persisting on all sides, and the UK's foreign minister suggesting on Wednesday as he visited Israel that it has decided to act. Speaking at the ceremony, Raisi hailed Iran's direct attack on Israel, dubbed a true promise, and reiterated recent threats of a strong and fierce response. Since Operation Al-Aqsa Flood, an attack on Israel by the Palestinian group Hamas in October set off the war in Gaza. Again, I don't like calling it a war, but, Iranian allies in Lebanon and Yemen have been engaged in low-level hostilities with Israel. However, a suspected Israeli strike on Iran's consulate in Syria on April 1 prompted Iran's first-ever direct attack against Israel. Now, again, it's suspected, but again, I'm just saying, who else is going to do it? Let's be honest. So, just throwing that out there. The people of the world, this is a quote, saw that after Operation Al-Aqsa Flood, true promise collapsed the Zionist regime's false hegemony, Raisi asserted. Calling that attack limited, he claimed that if Iran had wanted to carry out a bigger attack, quote, nothing would remain from the Zionist regime. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm cheering for Iran to destroy Israel. With that being said, Iran could absolutely wreck Israel. Unless the U.S. and Europe got involved in a war against Iran, and again, that is a fucking huge can of worms. Best case scenario here, right? Best case scenario. All of Israel's allies just go, like, Israel attacks Iran again. Iran destroys Israel, right? The government gone. All the politicians targeted gone, right? And then, I don't know, maybe we return the land of Israel to the people who lived there beforehand. I'm just saying, and maybe all the racist, Zionist freaks, the civilian population that are Zionists, maybe they can just leave Israel because, like, honestly, they're too fucking crazy to be there. Now, you might go, ethnic cleansing. That's just a reverse genocide. But I don't know, man. I don't know. When you got Zionists, and again, polling has been done, that about 80 to 90% of Israeli civilians, now they're not polling Palestinians, of course, so keep this in mind, of Israeli civilians, because Palestinians aren't civilians in the eyes of the government, right? 80 to 90%, depending on the poll, have either some level of support or full levels of support, or want to go even further in the genocide of Palestinians. So, I don't know, man. I feel like that's three strikes in one for me. Get them the fuck out of there. I'm not saying you have to kill them, of course. I don't support that. But spread them across the planet like the motherfucking Dragon Balls, okay? We cannot afford to have pockets of cultist, Zionist freaks, okay? Freaks of motherfucking nature congregating and designing a genocide. I'm sorry. So the best case scenario here is the U.S. and all the other allies of Israel just kind of and lets Iran just destroy the government, and then maybe, I don't know, maybe the Palestinians can return to their life, okay? That would be the best case scenario. Does that have any chance of happening? No, that would never happen, okay? Of course not, right? But as I've said before, Israel is not a real country. You know, they love to claim only democracy in the Middle East, except all people of a certain race aren't allowed to vote. That's like the U.S. being called a democracy when black people and women didn't have the right to vote. It's a democracy. What? If you're black, you can't vote, but it's a democracy. What? What? I'm sorry, man. This is some fucked up shit. Israel has got to go. I accidentally turned this off. Israel has got to fucking go. And I'm not gonna sit here and tell you, I'm not a geopolitical expert. I haven't been studying this shit for decades. But I know enough to know that Israel has to go. Does that mean everyone that lives there has to leave? No. I do believe it is theoretically possible to have a one-state solution where Palestinians and Israelis or whatever live together in peace and harmony. Is that possible? Sure. Is it going to happen with the current government? No. The Israeli government, as it is now, needs to be completely dissolved, and we have to start from scratch. Full stop, that's it. Any remnants of this government that would have any power in the future, that cannot be allowed to happen, okay? It just cannot be allowed to happen. Because look what happened in the United States, right? Oh, we gave black people the right to vote. Oh, we gave women the right to vote. But all the people that were elected when black people couldn't vote and women couldn't vote, they're still in power. The government that they designed, you know, the slave owners who designed the government, yeah, that government is still running by the same rules. It's just we're allowing black people to vote now. And then you wonder why this country is still so steeped in racist garbage that has been here for hundreds of years. It's because what we should have done after the Civil War is done a complete governmental reset. Start from fucking scratch. Burn the Constitution, burn the Declaration of Independence, and in the ashes, create a new country that is founded on anti-racist principles. We didn't do that. So we have fucked up shitland, also known as the United States of America. So again, Israel's not even a real country. The idea that it's the only democracy in the Middle East is insane. This is a warmongering, Zionist, religious cult regime that needs to go away. Now again, is it going to go away realistically at any time? Probably not. Is the government going to be reformed in some way? Even then, probably not. The best case scenario that we could realistically hope for is like Netanyahu gets kicked out and then the next guy is like, maybe we'll scale back here. But again, if you look at the government, if you look who would be in line to replace Netanyahu, a lot of them are to the right of Netanyahu. So again, if Netanyahu went bye-bye, it's even possible it would get worse. So I don't even know what to do. Okay, but again, I'm not an expert here. I'm not going to tell you that I know everything in the world. But what I do know is the current government of Israel is trying to destroy the planet because they believe that Iraq belongs to them and not someone else. Oh, this is our holy land. Holy land? The year is 2024 and motherfuckers are, nuclear powers are going to get into a world war over Holy Land in 2024. Give me a fucking break, okay? Religion, I'm sorry, it cannot survive until the 22nd century. If humanity survives into the 22nd century, religion cannot be along with it. I'm sorry, we gotta drop this shit. The fact that religion is even a part of the 21st century is honestly embarrassing. You know, if aliens are looking down at Earth right now, I'm like, eesh, I'm embarrassed to be a part of this fucking species that we call human beings, okay? This is some really fucking embarrassing shit. That people believe in God so much that they're going to completely genocide millions of people so that they have the right to go to the beach that God told them to in the Bible or something, instead of just, I don't know, sharing the fucking beach like a normal person. But hey, whatever. Zionists are fucking mentally ill freaks, okay? I'm sorry. Iranian officials have declared that any retaliation by Israel would be met with a swift response. Quote, that is the time when the supporters of the Zionist regime will find out that their hidden power will not be able to do anything. This motherfucker's talking like goddamn like Cell in Dragon Ball or some shit. Like, whoa, dude, come on, calm down a little bit now. The president said, according to a statement published on his official website. Decision to act. Raisi also hit out at Israel's allies. Those countries that sought to normalize relations with this cruel and criminal regime are ashamed before their nations today. Again, the fact that any country, especially Germany is doubling over backwards to commit the second genocide that they've done in just a 100-year time span. Like, talk about like unsung heroes of neo-Nazi and Nazi ideology. Germany has funded 2 genocides in less than 100 years. Dude, calm down, Germany. I don't know what's going on in Germany, but that is one genocidal fuckface country, okay? Now, not all Germans, of course, support the second genocide, but still, again, the government of Germany is going way overboard. Like, Jewish people want to commit a genocide? Well, you know, we're the genocide lovers of the world. We love genocide. So, hey, you want to call me up? And we'll do a genocide together. I'll teach you how it's done. That's Germany when it comes to Israel, right? So, again, the allies here, man, Jesus fucking Christ. You can read the rest of this if you want. But basically, we're fucked. I mean, I don't know. I'm just going to tell you simply. We're fucked. Okay? This is not good. This is not good at all. Imagine a scenario where Israel stops this war. This genocidal fucking campaign. Now, again, even if they did stop it, 2 million plus homes have been destroyed. Where the fuck are people going to live in Gaza, right? So not only would they have to stop the war, but they would have to immediately give reparations to the Palestinian people. And you cannot even just have like a restoration to pre-October 7, 2023 conditions. Like, what are you going to... Okay, all right, we'll stop the fucking genocide campaign. We'll rebuild your homes, but you're still in a concentration camp. We're still not going to let you go anywhere. What? There is literally no way that this ends other than complete and total genocide, or the Israeli government has to be dissolved completely. Those are the only 2 outcomes besides nuclear war that I can fucking foresee. Now, again, I don't know everything, okay? I have not been studying Middle Eastern relations for the last 20 years of my life. I've been, dabbling and studying it a little bit here and there for the last 5 or so years. So I am not by any means an expert, okay? So just keep that in mind. But really, realistically, how the fuck... Okay, so Israel just stops the genocide and doesn't do reparations. Doesn't fix homes or anything. Well, guess what? You just created, like, Hamas 7.0. Of course those motherfuckers are going to want to get revenge on you. And you know what? They would be right to do so. Right? So, like... Where does this end? Nuclear war, Israel goes bye-bye, or a complete and total genocide, and then we have to reckon with that for the rest of our lives? Those are the only 3 endings here that I can see. If you want to show me a 4th ending, I would love to hear it. But damn, this is some scary shit. Meanwhile, the United States is going full fascist. If you're protesting against this genocide, well, guess what? Not anymore, Jack! The Supreme Court has effectively abolished the right to protest in 3 U.S. states. It is no longer safe to organize a protest in Louisiana, Mississippi, or Texas. Now, my response to this would be, you can still protest, but there is no organizer. It's all decentralized. Who's the organizer? That guy. And then you go talk to them. Who's the organizer? That guy. Who's the organizer? That guy. And it's a fucking circle, okay? Now, again, is that going to go well? Probably not. But that is technically a loophole you could get here. But the Supreme Court basically has just said, if someone does anything illegal at a protest, the person who organized it is at fault. What? The Supreme Court announced on Monday that it will not hear McKesson v. Doe. The decision not to hear McKesson leaves in place a lower court decision that effectively eliminated the right to organize a mass protest in the states of Louisiana, Mississippi, and Texas. Under the lower court decision, a protest organizer faces potentially ruinous financial consequences if a single attendee at a mass protest commits an illegal act. And again, what's an illegal act? Maybe blocking a bridge or road for like 20 minutes. So then now you have like $100,000 fine or whatever, right? It is possible that this outcome will be temporary. The court did not embrace the United States Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit's decision attacking the First Amendment right to protest, but it did not reverse it either. That means that, at least for now, the Fifth Circuit's decision is the law in much of the American South. For the past several years, the Fifth Circuit has engaged in a crusade against D. Ray McKesson, a prominent figure within the Black Lives Matter movement who organized a protest near a Baton Rouge police station in 2016. The facts of the McKesson case are, unfortunately, quite tragic. McKesson helped organize the Baton Rouge protest following the fatal police shooting of Alton Sterling. During that protest, an unknown individual threw a rock or similar object at a police officer. The plaintiff in McKesson case, who was identified only as Officer John Doe, sadly, the officer was struck in the face and, according to one court, suffered injuries to his teeth, jaw, brain, and head. Fuck around and find out. You became a cop, so hey, everyone agrees that the rock was not thrown by McKesson, however. And the Supreme Court held in NAACP versus Claiborne Hardware, 1982, that protest leaders cannot be held liable for the violent actions of a protest participant, absent unusual circumstances that are not present in the McKesson case, such as McKesson had authorized, directed, or ratified the decision to throw the rock. Indeed, as Justice Sonia Sotomayor points out in a brief opinion accompanying the court's decision not to hear McKesson, the court recently reaffirmed the strong First Amendment protections enjoyed by people like McKesson in Counterman v. Colorado. The decision held that the First Amendment precludes punishment for inciting violent action unless the speaker's words were intended, not just likely, to produce imminent disorder. The reason Claiborne protects protest organizers should be obvious. No one who organizes a mass event attended by thousands of people can possibly control the actions of all of those attendees, regardless of whether the event is a political protest, a music concert, or the Super Bowl. Now, again, a lot of these sports things, people love to riot and loot and break windows and beat the shit out of people because their team lost a fucking sports ball match. And when I say their team, I mean a team that they have a parasocial relationship with on the television that they have no actual earthly attachment to, right? People are willing to get in fist fights over sports. It's insane. So imagine if like the fucking NFL were held responsible because of a riot, right? That would not go well. But again, we are fucked here. In this country, because the problem here is this is like one of those things that it's like the shadow doctrine or fucking some shit that the Supreme Court does, where they can not do something and that changes the law and how the law is interpreted, right? So not hearing the case. Now, they could hear the case and then decide that it is legitimate, right? And then all 50 states would theoretically have protesting banned, right? But instead, they're not hearing the case. So only these 3 states have protesting banned, essentially. But what's going to happen is other states are going to pass laws they're similar to this, right? They're going to also effectively ban protest in a lot of these states. So what is going to happen is we're basically going to have half the country where protesting is just flat out illegal. And again, even if you've committed no crime, we can just accuse you of committing a crime, and then everyone involved with the organization of the protest is gonzo. So again, if you are a protest organizer, in my opinion, you should always be obscuring your identity unless you are okay with and have the resources to handle getting attacked by the state for potentially decades and or murdered. Again, if you look at the Ferguson protests, a lot of the protest organizers in Ferguson mysteriously died by suicide in flaming cars. You ever hear about this? They all killed themselves by blowing up their cars, all at the same time, without any coordination whatsoever. Isn't that weird? Huh, interesting, right? So even if they don't do a lawfare against you, a lot of the times they'll just straight up fucking murder you and then pretend it's a suicide, right? So again, we are motherfucked in this goddamn country, and not in the good dick way, unfortunately. As unfortunate as that may seem, it's not looking good here. But goddamn, so not good. I got one more subject I'd like to tackle today. We're going to be talking about the pandemic. You know, a lot of people like to pretend the pandemic's over. The only reason they would do that is because they're fucking stupid. They have a low IQ. Either that or they're a fascist and they like the idea of killing old people, killing sick people, immunocompromised people. They all deserve the death penalty so I can go to Wendy's, right? That's the average left-winger in this country now. Oh, you're immunocompromised? Have fun dying. I want to go rollerblading at the roller rink, right? So if you are immunocompromised, if you're disabled, you have been shunned from society. You are not allowed to participate. This is what I like to call an apartheid situation. This is disease apartheid, what we are dealing with. Is that people have decided, I want to kill myself. I want to kill everyone around me with a disabling virus just so that I can go eat at a 1-star restaurant or a 0-star restaurant. Just so that I can ride on an airplane without wearing a mask. So I can go to Disneyland without wearing a mask. Now again, we could all have respirators for everyone and everyone would be allowed to participate in society. Right? But we don't because we live in an apartheid country. If you are disabled, you're not allowed. You're not allowed to go to restaurants. Because if you do, you might catch COVID because everyone else is doing it willy-nilly and you might die. If you are disabled, if you are elderly, you are not allowed to go back to college. Maybe you dropped out of college and your dream is to go back and finish your degree. Sorry, you have to do it online. You're not allowed to go to college because your kind are not welcome here. That is disease apartheid. The Americans with Disability Act, thrown out the fucking window. If you are immunocompromised and you want to go to the hospital for a checkup, guess what? You're not allowed. Your kind are not welcome here because quote-unquote regular people should be allowed to go to the hospital without wearing masks so that they can spread disease to people who will die instantly or relatively instantly because of their disability from COVID. So if you are disabled, if you are sick, if you are elderly, if you are immunocompromised, your kind are not welcome here. If you are someone who just, I don't know, doesn't want to die early, your kind are not welcome here. This is apartheid, right? But again, most of the people engaging in this apartheid divisive society do so because the government told me to. Joe Biden said that COVID was magic and it disappeared. Joe Biden told me to get back to work and I am a good American communist. And I said, yeah, I love Joe Biden. Yes, sir. I'll get back to work for minimum wage, sir. Oh, yes, sir. The disabled should die, sir. You're right, sir. I love eugenics, sir. By the way, I'm a communist, sir. I love Joe Biden, 2024. Right? In this country, apartheid is normalized. right? We could all, immunocompromised people, could feel safe going to the roller rink, could feel safe going to the movie theater, if everyone just wore respirators and all of our buildings were outfitted with high quality ventilation. So that, hell, we could even theoretically design a system where people wouldn't even need to have respirators if we had extremely high quality ventilation systems like, they have at the White House or in those rich trust fund baby private schools or at the World Economic Forum, that kind of stuff, right? But again, we could. The answers are simple. Respirators and clean air. But people don't want that. People would rather be sick all the time, get COVID over and fucking over again, and discriminate against people who are less fortunate than them, all so that they can go get a $2 cheeseburger and eat inside of the McDonald's. That's how fucking depraved the average American is. Oh, you're immunocompromised? Sorry, we don't welcome your kind here at the grocery store. You gotta risk your life to go to the grocery store. And guess what? Maybe you're someone who gets grocery delivery, right? And then you have to pay exorbitant fees for that delivery because these fucking gig economy bullshit apps take extremely fucked up fees out of things, so the people driving and shopping for you are getting underpaid and the company is getting overpaid, so you have to pay a shitload of extra money, in a lot of cases 40, 50, 60 extra dollars, right, just to get delivery, just so that you don't fucking die, because once again, your kind is not welcome here. This is disease apartheid in the age of pestilence. You might think I'm overreacting. Remind me how overreacting I am in 5 years. Well, again, assuming we make it that far with what's going on in the Middle East here. And in Europe, for that matter. Putin is doing some really crazy shit now that a lot of, the U.S. and a lot of European countries are getting tired of supporting Ukraine. So, who knows? They could always pull out a wild card when we're not looking at any time, right? So, again, I want to read a piece here from February 2024 about a specific individual who a lot of people have heard of, and I have a hot take on this whole situation here. So I'm going to read this. It has to do with COVID, and it has to do with a billionaire, so we get a double dose of fun here. So this is on a newsletter by a person who calls themselves Nate Bear. They're a COVID writer on donotpanic.news. So again, I'm going to read this, and then I have some additional information. It's a little bit more recent about the billionaire who you may have heard of as the Vampire Lord, also known as Brian Johnson. So let's check this out. The billionaire who wants to live forever has long COVID. And you may have heard of this guy. This guy has been making the rounds for his longevity program, if you want to call it, where he is basically experimenting on himself, right? And now again, I'm just going to say, shout outs to this guy, because he is experimenting on himself. He's not hiring test subjects, like a lot of other billionaires would do, like Elon Musk. Is Elon Musk going to install the Neuralink in his own brain? No, right? So again, shout outs to this guy for actually having the balls to experiment on himself. Okay, so I just want to say that, okay? The billionaire who wants to live forever just admitted he has long COVID. Specifically, COVID wrecked his lungs. If you haven't come across him, Brian Johnson is a 46-year-old tech bro who crashed out a few years ago and now spends all his time trying not to die. He has been interviewed by most mainstream news outlets where he has documented his extreme and bizarre quest for immortality. Now, again, a lot of people hate on this guy because, imagine wanting to live forever. Now, again, I'm just going to tell you, this might be one of the only good billionaires. Again, okay? Using his money to find out how to make people live longer. Pretty cool. Experimenting on himself and not like test subjects that he hires to do medical experiments on. Pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie, okay? I'm just saying, okay? So, and also, the idea that wanting to live longer is like uncool or something. That guy wants to live long. and that's supposed to be weird. I'm sorry, man. I don't really believe in that. I personally believe everyone should have access to a long and healthy life. Now, that being said, he is a billionaire. He made his money with a bunch of weird, fucked up things. And again, our economy is designed in such a way that allows for that, and that's a problem. But aside from that, this may be the best billionaire. Now, again, who's still a billionaire, but again, we're going to read into this a little bit more. So here is a quote from a Guardian article about him. He rises at 4:30 a.m., eats all of his meals before 11 a.m., and goes to bed alone at 8:30 p.m. without exception. He ingests more than 100 supplement pills daily and bathes his body in LED light. 2 of the 3 meals he eats every day are exactly the same: boiled broccoli, cauliflower, mushrooms, and garlic, nuts and seeds. I don't know why there's 2 ands there, but hey, whatever. He takes 54 pills in the morning and the rest in between skin treatments and red light therapy. He doesn't drink alcohol and doesn't go out in the evening. He experimented with injecting himself with blood plasma from his 18-year-old son, Talmage. Now again, on its face, sounds pretty nutso. But again, you gotta shout someone out for doing the experiment on themselves. I know a lot of people that would probably say shit like, oh, I would love to live forever, who would not do the experiment on themselves. I'm just saying, okay? So you got to shout them out for that. As much as it may pain you to do so, it is pretty cool. Yet apparently none of the journalists at The Guardian, Time Magazine, New York Times, Bloomberg, or The Washington Post, or many others who have interviewed him ever thought to ask if he had ever been infected with the pandemic virus in a pandemic. No one thought to ask the anti-aging guy if he had been infected with a virus known to accelerate the aging process. And not once in all of these interviews did he ever bring it up. Now, that's a huge red flag for me. Now, I am someone who dabbles in a wellness culture, in spaces online. I like to see what a lot of these people say. A lot of the stuff that these people say are relatively decent advice. You want to cut out certain foods from your diet. You want to, hey, you might want to pretend it's a joke, but red light, it does have some benefits, right? And now we can have this argument of, is it worth the mental stress of going through? Now that's a debate we can have. But again, a lot of wellness culture does have some decent points. But the idea that the entire industry is ignoring the COVID virus, that, again, I've documented on my show, I've shown articles, medical studies, research studies, that it ages your brain by 10 years. It can age your lungs by 10 years. It can age your heart by 10 years. Isn't that fucking interesting? That a lot of these people that, by the way, have a financially vested interest in these products aren't telling you, hey, wear a respirator so you don't get COVID during a fucking pandemic that ages your body 10 years. Oh, but buy my supplements, though. So that's why I think that Brian Johnson is an interesting case, because although he has not brought it up in a lot of cases, he has started recently talking about it. And that's interesting to me. He has decided to volunteer this information because seemingly no one who has access to him gives a fuck. Now, again, I would love to interview this guy and ask him about COVID. So if anyone knows Brian Johnson, send him my way. Well, let's read more of this article. And again, this was written in February of this year. We do have an update from him from a couple of days ago, maybe a week ago or so. So I want to read the rest of this first. The cultural pact of COVID silence held firm. Today, for whatever reason, in a response to a tweet I wrote about research showing COVID ages a person biologically, he admitted a mild infection in November 2022, months before those interviews, stripped him of 15% of his lung capacity. Now, again, it is kind of a little scummy that he didn't volunteer that information sooner, but again, better late than never. And I will say, this guy has been experimenting on himself, tracking every organ in his body for multiple years. This guy may have the most well-documented organs on planet Earth. Think of another human being who could have more well-documented organs than this guy. Okay, so factor this in. Okay, as creepy or weird or whatever weird thing you want to say about it, this guy is probably the most well-documented human being on this planet at this current moment in time. So, just throwing that out there. A 15%, let's read the tweet here. A mild case of COVID in November 22 caused a loss of 15% of my lung capacity that I have not gotten back, he said in February 10, 2024. This is a guy that tweets about every other health gain he says he is making. Most recently, he has boasted he reduced his sperm age from 57 to 42. Now again, people in general, billionaires especially, are more likely to post their W's and hide their L's. That's just how human behavior works. And when you're rich enough that you can have, like, anyone and everyone pay attention to everything you say, you're going to be a lot less likely to post your L's. And in this case, a little late, about a year and a half late, but he is posting his L's. I, the anti-aging billionaire, got COVID, presumably because I'm a dumbass and I had a lapse of judgment, and now it fucked my body up, and for over a year and a half, almost 2 years, I still have not recovered fully, right? Now again, that's a mistake. Has he learned from that mistake? I hope so, but why isn't he telling other people about this? I don't know. That's a little weird. You would think the wellness industry, the wellness culture, would be all about avoiding a virus that ages you. You would think that the longevity people would be all about avoiding a virus that ages you. But again, we are living in a cult, a reality that has been absorbed by a cult. We are not allowed to talk about the pandemic because if you do, people will stop listening to you. So maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know. But either way, it is to be extremely noted that he is starting to talk about it, and the details that he's revealing are very interesting. Last summer, he said he had reduced his epigenetic age by 5 years, and that he has the heart of a 37-year-old, the skin of a 28-year-old, and the lung capacity of an 18-year-old, which doesn't appear to square with 15% capacity reduction. Now, I disagree with the parents there because the controls here, are one thing, but also the average 18-year-old now has probably had COVID so many times, right? So the average 18-year-old now is probably, it is probably a decent comparison, okay? I'm just throwing that out there. He tweets that humans are on the cusp of an immortality revolution. I sure hope so. That we can hack our bodies for forever life. That the future is going to be extraordinary. Just don't mention the viruses. So you can read the rest of this if you want. Now, I personally have no problem with shitting on billionaires. But again, he is experimenting on himself. And he is coming out with the documentation on how COVID wrecked his body. So recently, more recently than this news article was written, Brian Johnson on April 11th tweeted out some more information on twitter.com. My lungs aged 19 years after having COVID. After 18 months and numerous interventions, my lungs still have not regained full capacity. In 2021, my lung capacity was age 26. By November 22, after getting COVID, my lung capacity was age 45. Now, in April of 24, my lung capacity is age 37. My COVID symptoms were very mild and lasted only 3 days. And then he goes into some of the things that he did to track all of this. Now, again, the numbers here, not very consistent, right? In some areas, he says his lungs are of a certain age. And in this area, he's talking about lung capacity, which is technically kind of a smaller, a small, minute difference here. But again, the guy with the, presumably, can you think of someone with more documented lungs? Presumably the most documented lungs on planet Earth has revealed that his lungs aged 19 years after a mild, now again, mild symptoms. That means maybe you didn't feel that bad. And again, feeling your body and how it feels is not necessarily representative of how your body is actually doing. Again, if you have cancer, do you feel the cancer? Or do you feel it when you have like a heart attack because there's a tumor on your heart and then you wake up in the hospital and say, hey, by the way, you're going to die in a week or two, right? So again, when your symptoms are mild, that has no bearing on how severe the disease outcome is going to be. So a lot of people make fun of this guy for, we can argue about whether or not the reasons are valid. Personally, I think it's pretty cool that this guy is experimenting on himself and is going to provide public data on how to live forever. I'm in. As someone who wants to live forever, I'm in on that. But again, we should be skeptical on a lot of these numbers. And I wish that he were to talk about this sooner. But he is talking about it now. And he is revealing a lot of numbers. Should he be doing it all at once? Yes. Should he be doing it more quickly? Yes. Should he be doing it in a way that's more digestible? Yes. But the idea that the guy with the most well-documented lungs on planet Earth, with all the experimental stuff that he's doing, right, that is seemingly doing a decent job in making his body healthier, his lungs still aged 19 years after a mild COVID infection. So imagine what this is doing to grandma. Imagine what this is doing to little Timmy in elementary school. Imagine what this is doing to you if you are choosing to go get COVID 15 times a year because, man, I just gotta go party, bro. My life isn't complete without parties, man. The only way that I can live my life is by partying with people without clean respirators and clean ventilation systems, man. We have to meet in these grungy bars with bad air circulation so that we can party and live it up, man. Just imagine what this fucking shit is doing to you. So, again, this is probably one of the best actual things when it comes to long COVID that we have seen, because a lot of studies that study this stuff, it's really hard to study regular people without being extremely invasive. You know what I mean? So when you're studying regular people, usually you'll do certain check-ins at certain times. Like every week you'll go get a check-in, or every month you'll get a check-in, or every 3 months you go to check-in. Whereas this guy is experimenting and documenting his body on a daily fucking basis. So again, if this guy got mild COVID and his body and his lungs aged 19 years, even with all the other therapies that he's doing, what the fuck is going on with your lungs? What the fuck is going on with your brain? What's going on with your heart? Think about it. A little fucking scary, but hey, going to Disney World is more important than grandma living a long and healthy life. Going to Disney World is more important than my kid growing up to be 40 years old and not, being in the body of a 90-year-old. So, I don't know, man. It seems society has decided, you know what, we're all just going to kill ourselves anyway, so might as well just go out square dancing while we do it. And it's pretty pathetic. It's pretty embarrassing. And again, it's also a pathetic indictment on society that we really have to kind of rely on rich assholes. I'm not saying that this guy's an asshole. He seems like he might be one of the good ones, in some way, shape or form, right? But we have to rely on these random rich sons of bitches in order to get information that should be shared publicly and studied with government institutional money. Why isn't the government? Why isn't Joe Biden or, God forbid, Donald Trump talking about how COVID ages your body? Because they're responsible for that shit. They don't want to claim, they don't want to feel responsible for destroying an entire generation, so they're going to hide it. And again, until recently, Brian Johnson has also been hiding this information. So why is that? Because the powerful lobby of the cult of the social creature, right? That is why these people are feeling the need to hide this information. Because if you talk about COVID, everyone turns their brains off. Oh, the vaccine. Oh, the vaccine. Oh, it's just the cold. Oh, math don't work. Math don't work the vaccine. Oh, math don't work. Oh, yeah. I gotta live my life. I gotta live my life. I gotta live my life. Little Timmy, has social development disability, even though they weren't even in school 4 years ago. Oh, I gotta live my life. Right? So, it makes sense why someone would want to advertise their product and ignore the COVID angle for a while until they've already got a built-in audience. But either way, it is pretty fucked up that it has to come from a billionaire for people to actually take this seriously. Like medical studies, no one gives a shit. Research papers, no one gives a shit. Just looking around at one another and saying, damn, everyone's getting dumber and dumber and sicker, no one gives a shit. But apparently a billionaire who's creepy because he wants to live forever, because that's taboo in our society, wanting to live a long, healthy life. You're so lame, man. Ha 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 ha. I don't know, dude. But anyway, I find his project to be a little interesting, and I definitely follow what he's doing. So, cancel me if you wish. But I find that to be very interesting information. So there's your COVID update for the week. Hopefully square dancing was definitely worth it. And again, this is disease apartheid. If you're immunocompromised, you know all this stuff, and you have been excluded from society. If you're elderly, you have been excluded from society. And if you don't want to be excluded from society, you have to sign up for a slow creeping suicide just so that you can hang out with your supposed friends who don't give a fuck about your health and safety or their own. I don't know this. How about make new friends? If the only way you can socialize is by getting sick and dying early, how about make new friends? I don't know. That's just a thought out there. But again, it's all fucked up and no one really cares about one another. Especially the self-proclaimed communists that do all these big protests without masks and spread disease to one another that will prevent them from protesting in the next 10 years. But hey, it's probably going to be illegal to protest in the next 10 years anyway, so who fucking knows? Anyway, thank you for watching today's program. I appreciate it for people sticking around. That's it. I don't know how to do outros, so I'm just going to turn it off. Just